Hi, I'm Sally Dick, the Interim Bishop of the California-Nevada Annual Conference, and I'm here to welcome all of you to these pre-conference briefings and the orientation to this year's annual conference. Whether you've been to annual conference many times or it's your first time, in some respects, every annual conference has some of the same things, but every annual conference is a little bit different. As a clergy person and a bishop, I've been going to decades of annual conferences, and I think all of us would say that we probably have some of our favorite aspects of annual conference, because you see, annual conference has various things that come together to make these sessions important to us for inspiration, education, for direction and vision setting for our whole region. So some people really like the worship, especially people who come from smaller churches. Sometimes the singing can just be so inspiring. Some people love to come to see friends, old friends, and make new friends. So it's the fellowship. And, now that we gather in person, that can happen even more so. Some people come for legislation. Yes, really. And they love to be able to talk about the things that are important to them. Sometimes they're social concerns. Sometimes they're the governance of the annual conference. But they have a desire to make sure that we come together as the churches and the lay and clergy delegates to decide who we are and what we do. Other people, they like some aspects of the annual conference that have to do with all kinds of just hearing what other churches are doing. And so no matter what your experience of annual conference has been, like I say, this year is always a new thing. And indeed, we want to give witness to a new thing as the people called United Methodists in the California-Nevada Annual Conference. People have asked, so why do we have to get together in person? You could save a lot of money. You could do it more efficiently. Well, I think as we're beginning to come together in person, we're finding that, thank goodness, we could come together virtually to do work, to continue local church work, annual conference work, district work, general church work, boards and agencies during the height of COVID. But something really special happens when people come face to face. And as some of our great Charles Wesley songs remind us, it's when we see, are we yet alive? And we see that, we all move on in life. I mean, we see our friends' children grow up since the last time, and we see how probably some of us age, but maybe I'll just speak for myself. And, we are able to just have that kind of synergy that comes by being face to face and with each other. Conversations happen around the edges at annual conference, like many meetings. And some of those can be the most important. Hey, what are you doing about children's ministry? Hey, what are you doing about this or that? How are you doing hybrid services? What's your platform? Some of those kinds of conversations can be what we take home and are so glad we went to annual conference and discovered. So, as we come together to witness a new thing, let this year be a new thing for you. Come with an open heart, come with an open mind, come and know that God loves you so much. And God loves all these other people too, whether we agree with them or disagree with them. The strength of this annual conference right now is to come together and be in harmony with each other, in spite and through, and giving witnesses to our togetherness in love. See you there.
Hi friends, my name is Hannah Woodland and I am the Communications Associate for the California-Nevada Annual Conference. Over the last few weeks, I've had the distinct honor of sitting down with several people across our conference to discuss our upcoming annual conference session. I'm so excited for you all to hear what to expect and to look forward to directly from these folks. Due to time constraints within our district conferences, we've only included the most important information from several of the interviews in this video. To see the full interviews, as well as the standalone versions of the Bishop's Welcome and the app walkthrough, please visit our website, cnumc.org, and go to the annual conference page. The interviews will also be uploaded on our YouTube, CalNev UMC. I am here today with our conference lay leader, Michelle Pope. Michelle, thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about our laity session this year at annual conference?
Oh, wow. Johanna, I am so excited about the laity session because I have been engaged with cultivating a culture of renewal, CCR, with Rebecca Simon Peter. I'm completing my first year of that training. Yeah, I know. And she, came to the conference last year through the laity session. And I have just learned so much about dreaming like Jesus. And with our conference theme being a witness, dreaming. And now I want to bring to the laity session this idea of dreaming, but also executing, moving into action, moving from some of our comfort ministries and to challenging ministries, being willing to let go of not only ministries, but behaviors, to move into a new way, into what Jesus is calling us into. So Rebecca Simon Peter is going to lead us in that form of discussion during the laity session. As always, we always bring someone from the Connectional Church. So David Teal from Discipleship Ministries will be there to reintroduce See All the People. It's going through another iteration. And then I'm hoping to have someone from the United Methodist Men, whether it's Greg Arnold or Rick Vance. So with the connectional piece, and then we always take time to celebrate what is happening in our conference and the United Women in Faith and their new charge and their new logo. We will have that in our district lay leaders. So it's a jam-packed 2 to 3 hours, you guys, but we'll have some breaks in between. It'll be interactive, and it's a time for us to grow and to fall back in love with each other so that we can go back out and perform the ministry of Christ.
Yeah, and such an important time to honor our lay people and our lay leaders and say, we see the work that you're doing and we celebrate it and we're here with you.
Yes, exactly.
So important. And I'm so excited to get to hear Rebecca Simon Peter speak. How else is she going to be involved throughout the weekend?
Yeah, so she will be speaking at the laity session, but she's also going to be our plenary leader as speaker. Traditionally we've always had Marlon Hall one year. We've had other folks. So she's going to do that, and that theme of dreaming like Jesus, of embracing this new paradigm coming out of the pandemic, and just really, how do we not crash? And we rethink how we live in this world together. It doesn't mean not being courageous, and it doesn't mean not speaking one's voice, but it does mean allowing other people freedom to do the same.
I am here with Sam Yun. Sam is the chair of the core team. Sam, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about what that role means.
Thanks, Hannah. So yes, I am the chair of the conference core team. If you look at the website, there's actually a lot of information about what we do on the website. And of course, in our standing rules, there's a full description of what the core team is responsible for. What's interesting is that when you go to the website, you'll see listed there kind of the core members of the core team, the voting members. We have 10. We have myself, the secretary of the core team, as well as 4 mission-focused area conveners. And right now, we have 4 members at large. So we have a pretty solid and full team. And these are just amazing people, great leaders. But in addition to the 10, we also have our cabinet, the district superintendents that are on the core team as ex officio members, of course, the bishop, We have members from CFNA, as well as the incredibly hardworking staff. On the website, it says under the listing, under the core team members, there's this kind of big bold heading that says strategic direction. And what's been interesting for us is that because of a lot of the things that have happened over the past several years, not the least of which is trying to do ministry in a global pandemic, a lot of what had been worked on in terms of strategy and developing a vision for the annual conference has been put on hold. And it was only until the beginning of 2022 that we started to pick up that work. And so for the past more than 12 months now, the core team has been meeting in addition to doing a lot of the other work of the annual conference. We've been focused on trying to articulate what that strategic vision is. That's been the primary work for this past annual conference year. But of course, we do a lot of other things like following up on decisions made at the annual conference session, and probably a whole bunch of other things that's too boring to mention here right now. So
yeah, so much good work. So how is the core team going to be kind of highlighted, featured at annual conference this year?
Yeah, so my understanding is that on Friday afternoon of annual conference, our core team will be making a full presentation of, again, what we're calling the strategic vision articulation. And it will really outline kind of what we've been doing in terms of setting that strategic direction for the years to come for California, Nevada Annual Conference. We will be, I guess, doing kind of a big reveal, if you will, on the work that has taken place. Of course, we'll be sharing some of that work prior to annual conference so that the members can be a little bit more equipped and ready to process that. But we will be proposing a new vision statement during that presentation, as well as articulating both the values that would be embodied in the living out of that strategic vision articulation, as well as hopefully giving some sense of direction in terms of implementation. And what's really important about that is I think so often, just in general, I think the church with the capital C, sorry about my dog barking in the background.
That's okay.
So many times I think at church with the capital C, we're really great at creating ideas or having this picture of where God is leading us. Yeah. But we don't do as good of a job in terms of the follow-up and the active implementation. Yeah. So the core team is aware of that, and we want to make sure that some of the things that we do present at annual conference will be, really, it will be a plan. It will be action items that we can all be a part of as an annual conference together, from the leaders of the annual conference to the members of the annual conference to all the way down to local churches. We want to do this as the full body of Christ.
I am here with Diane. Diane, I'd love if you could introduce yourself and explain what your role is at the conference.
Hi, my name is Diane Knudsen. I'm the conference treasurer. I staff the Council on Finance and Administration and the Conference Board of Trustees.
Wonderful. And what can you tell us? What should attendees expect about the budget presentations and legislation this year at annual conference?
The conference budget for 2024 will come as a budget recommendation from the Council on Finance and Administration. Reverend Dr. Kristen Stone King will present the budget, and a day or two later we'll vote on it. So the budget itself totals just under $5.6 million. It includes a staffing component, a programmatic component, and it includes the payment of the general church apportionments as well. So when you get the budget document itself, you'll see that there's one column that is funded through your tithes, your church tithes, and then another column shows other sources of funding, and then it totals up to a grand total. So the amount of money that's coming from your tithes is budgeted to be about $5.6 million. And then there's about $2 million of other sources of funding budgeted. So you'll see that's fairly comparable to the budget you passed for the current year, 2023.
Great, it's good to know. And will we be hearing any updates on the ongoing situation with the Boy Scouts of America?
I believe that there will be a report. I'm not sure if it will come from me or from the Conference Board of Trustees, but we will give you an update on the Boy Scouts of America bankruptcy. The Boy Scouts of America declared bankruptcy a couple of years ago when they had over 80,000 claims of sexual abuse, claims that were naming the Boy Scouts of America. And some of those 80,000 claims also may have involved some of those United Methodist churches that chartered Boy Scout troops. So our leaders at a denominational level have been involved in talking to the Boy Scouts of America and to the bankruptcy court directly to see if the bankruptcy court's indemnification of the Boy Scouts of America could include an indemnification of our United Methodist churches as well. Mm-hmm. So we've been very fortunate to have leaders at the national level of the United Methodist denomination involving our denomination in these talks, so that in the end, when the Boy Scouts of America bankruptcy gets approved, and it looks promising that will be approved in the next year, hopefully, that our United Methodist churches in total will be indemnified from those 80,000 claims.
Wow, that's important information, I'm sure, for all of our local churches, all the way up the denomination.
The other thing I need to add, though, Hannah, is that the settlement, that Boy Scouts of America settlement, involves, as I said, something like 80,000 claims, and the settlement involves a significant amount of money, right, to keep all of those claimants from litigating separately their claims. There is a trust fund that's being established as part of the bankruptcy, and our denomination has committed a significant amount of money to be included into that trust fund, and that's been divvied up between our conferences, and our conference has a share that will be ultimately, some of it will be requested from our churches, and some of it will be paid for by the annual conference funds themselves.
So important things to keep in mind and for us all to be aware of moving forward. And of course, the big topic that's been on everyone's hearts and minds, disaffiliation. Will we be hearing more about that during annual conference?
A bit, yes. We expect to have 6 churches requesting disaffiliation of our annual conference this June. And so our Conference Board of Trustees will be meeting and we'll be submitting the legislation, one piece of legislation for the disaffiliation of all 6 of those churches. And so when you see it at annual conference, it will be one piece of legislation, and you'll take one vote, either approving them or not approving them. That's the only vote allowed by an annual conference session. And so that will likely be a really meaningful part of this annual conference session. We have 6 churches. I'm not sure if they will have representatives at the annual conference session or not, but because it's a vote of the annual conference session, but there will be a presentation and opportunity to ask questions, and then the annual conference session will take its vote.
Well, thank you, Diane, for keeping us up to date and being there for all of these kind of difficult things our conference is wrestling with, and some of the hard stuff we don't always want to think about. I appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing more and learning how our conference is going to move forward through these difficult times. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anna.
And I am here today with Mark Wharf. Mark, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role within the conference?
Sure. Thanks, Hannah. I'm Mark Wharf. I'm a retired pastor in the annual conference, and it's currently my honor to serve as our conference secretary.
Wonderful. So Mark is here today to talk to us a little bit about all of the fun, kind of administrative, all of the things that everyone always gets confused about. So Mark, I would love if we could start with kind of an overview on the conference rules, standing rules. What do we need to know about that?
Good. Well, as I like to say, they don't call us Methodists for nothing. We have rules, we have policies, we have procedures. And the rules for our conference process, our rules of order, are printed in the conference journal, starting on page 208 in the 2022 journal. So if you want to brush up on that before we get together in Sacramento. Almost as a postscript, our rules state that Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, shall govern proceedings of the conference in all matters herein specified. Now, people get kind of clinched up about Robert's Rules of Order, and unless you watch C-SPAN 12 hours a day, you might not be the world's greatest expert on Robert's Rules or parliamentary procedure, but not to worry, because our annual conference session this year will be presided over by not just one, but two of the most profoundly gifted presiding officers in the United Methodist Church. Bishop Sally Dick and Bishop Warner Brown have earned the admiration of their peers for their excellent gifts as presiders. They have an uncanny ability to help the body accomplish what it wishes to accomplish. They have both presided over sessions of the General Conference, which is an indication of their skill level. Mm-hmm. And if they find it necessary to consult, seated right behind them on the dais is our conference's extraordinary parliamentarian, Paul Ekstrom Fernandez. So we're all going to be in good hands.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And what about the legislative process?
Well, again, the conference rules set out that process. And the way that we like to work together when we can is to assign legislative matters to legislative sections. So the conference is multiplied into smaller groups whose job it is to consider a portion of the conference's legislative agenda, and to do that in small groups where more people have the bandwidth to be able to participate in the process, to amend, that is to perfect the legislation that's been proposed, and then to recommend to the plenary session whether that item should be adopted or not. And so the section has a very important advisory role to the plenary of the annual conference.
I am here with Angel Rivero. Angel, I would love if you could start by sharing a little bit about your role within annual conference this year.
Sure. I am the co-chair for worship on our conference commission on annual conference session.
Awesome. And what is your focus? What service within the worship are you taking on?
I am working with Reverend Lori on our opening worship and remembering our saints. So we are fusing together two of our traditions of opening worship with communion and our memorial service where we remember clergy and clergy spouses who have passed away.
Awesome. And so that's a little different this year. What should people be expecting? I know this is a service that a lot of people really look forward to. So yeah.
Yes. So our well, to begin with, we're having our invited guests, musicians, The Many, which is a music group, a worship group out of Chicago, leading us in all our services. So we'll be meeting them at that time for the first time. And then also we'll have a time led by the Committee on Native American Ministries to do a land acknowledgement. We'll remember our saints. The Reverend A. Luna Garza will serve as our preacher, and Bishop Sally Dick will preside over Holy Communion.
Awesome. And with that service taking place on Thursday night, And that'll be taking place not at the convention center, correct?
Yes, our service will be on Thursday, June the 15th at 7 p.m. at Sacramento First United Methodist Church.
Awesome. Well, I know we're all really looking forward to it. I know this is a really special service for a lot of people, so excited to see what you guys come up with and get to experience it. Thank you. So today I am here with Lindsay Belker. Lindsay, what is your role within the annual conference?
I am one of the co-chairs of worship for the annual conference session.
Awesome. And what should we know about this year's commissioning and ordination service? What should people expect?
This service is going to have everything. There's going to be commissioning, there's going to be ordination, there's going to be deacons, elders. It's going to be a great service. It's always the highlight of annual conference, at least for me, like watching our new colleagues step up, inviting in new clergy into the fold, and really getting to celebrate the way in which God is doing new things among us. So it's going to be on Saturday night at 7 p.m. and I hope everyone will be there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are looking forward to it for sure. I am here with George Dominguez. George, what is your role within the conference?
Hi, I am the Executive Director of Connectional Ministries for the California-Nevada Conference.
Wonderful. And what can you tell us about how the Committee on Native American Ministries is going to be featured at annual conference this year?
Well, you all remember that for the last 2 years, we had significant discussions at the annual conference session about the Native American ministries in our area, particularly all of the conversations regarding boarding schools and the findings of some violence that happened in the past, both here in the US and in Canada. So our annual conference approved a suggestion, a recommendation by the Native American Ministries Committee to investigate our history, our conference history in involvement with boarding schools. Last year, they presented a preliminary report. It was an opportunity for us to hear about their visits to all of the Native American churches, to listen to the leaders and to the communities about their experience. And they continued that process throughout this last year. So they will bring to us on Saturday their final report on the boarding school issues in our area. And will share with us their findings as part of our way to acknowledging the hurt and the harm that these communities suffered for many years in those institutions, and how our church is actually responding to that.
Absolutely. That's such important work. So I know everyone will be really looking forward to hearing an update on that. And will we be doing anything else to kind of feature and put a spotlight on our brothers and sisters in Native American communities?
Well, you probably heard that there will be on our opening service a land acknowledgement that we recognize the native nations that lived in the Sacramento area that we are occupying at this time. And besides this moment of sharing of our CONAM, of their findings on the boarding schools issues, we will celebrate on Sunday the service on Sunday morning, in which the offering of the annual conference will be collected and designated for Native American ministries in our conference to support those communities and the ministries that they are doing with Native people in those areas. The service on Sunday morning will be led by Bishop Brown, who will be with us for that last day of the annual conference. And we will be collecting our conference offerings, which in past years have been responses to some urgent needs and also some opportunities for new ministries. This time, we will collect this as a way to respond concretely to these findings that we are getting from CONAM on the Native American boarding schools that happened in the past. So we invite all churches to contribute to be ready to provide the actual concrete response through our offering for Native American ministries on Sunday morning.
Awesome. I think that'll just be a great way to put our thoughts and our work into action and really show up. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I look forward to seeing all of you in Sacramento in June.
Awesome. Right. I am with JC Pickens Jones, Associate Director of Intergenerational Ministries. JC, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about what your role is within annual conference.
Sure. Yeah. So I will be helping organize and kind of herd our youth and young adult delegations that we'll be having at annual conference. And this is a great opportunity for our young people to be engaged in the work of the annual conference. They get a voice, they get a vote, and they get to help kind of direct where the annual conference is headed as we move forward. And so we'll be kind of rallying them around getting engaged in what it means to be a part of the annual conference and allowing their voices to be heard and really empowering them because, you know, they're not just the future of the church, they are the church now. So that's kind of what my role will be in that. And as part of our time at annual conference, we're hoping to do a few new things this year to help bridge the gap between our young people's delegations and the other delegates at annual conference so that they can get to know one another and have, you know, conversation, you know, you would say across the aisle really, but just, you know, across the table as we're coming together as the body of the church. And so a couple of things we're hoping to do is kind of like a bingo scavenger hunt sort of thing where each youth will have a sheet that has different squares in it, like find someone who has been in ministry for over 40 years or find a lay delegate who this is their first time here and, you know, have them initial your paper and have a conversation with them so you can get to know the other people who are here serving as well. And then we're also hoping to have an ice cream social on Saturday at some point so that, you know, the youth and young adults have had a couple days to talk to the other delegates, and then hopefully that'll kind of pique people's interest in coming and getting to meet the young people's delegation along the way. Plus, everybody loves ice cream, so it's a good way to come together.
That's true. That's true. We all love ice cream. Well, that's awesome. I can't wait to see what our youth and young adults get up to at annual conference. I know it's a highlight for a lot of people is getting to see the work that our young people are doing. So super excited. Thank you, JC.
Great. Thank you.
I am here with Mike Harrell. Mike, I'd love if you could introduce yourself.
Sure, happy to, Hannah. My name is Mike Harrell. I am a pastor in our annual conference, currently serving as the assistant to the bishop.
Wonderful. And Mike, what do our attendees to annual conference this year need to know about our health protocols?
So this year, with the lapsing of the state and local emergency orders around COVID, the commission on the annual conference made the decision to stop the vaccine mandate that had been in effect related to COVID for the past 2 annual conference sessions. And so that will no longer be a mandated requirement for folks that are attending annual conference session. I think we still, you know, definitely encourage folks to be vaccinated, but it will no longer be a requirement. And then also encourage folks to continue to mask when we're together. There is the possibility that the space we will be in this year, the plenary space, will be smaller than it was before. We may need to build out some of the side rooms that we haven't used so that we can have on-site legislative sections. So if we end up doing that, then the plenary space will be smaller. So we'll have to be sitting in closer proximity to one another, which makes the masking component all the more important this year. And then in addition to that, we're just asking people to use common sense. And if they're, you know, feeling ill either prior to annual conference session or even while they're there, that they take steps to either not come if they're feeling ill beforehand or isolate themselves if they start to feel ill while they are at annual conference session. We'll have supply of masks on hand for folks. And it's always a good idea. You know, the current reality is anytime you travel, take some tests with you, and just have those on hand in case you get to feeling poorly, and you can, take responsibility for yourself and check out, your status as far as COVID goes.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mike. It's so important that we all are aware of this so that we can gather and we can gather effectively and really get to be together as fully as we can while still being safe. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
To download the annual conference app, go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Search for CVent Events. Once you find the app, you will click Get or Download. If you've never downloaded the app before, you will have to enter your password. Once you have downloaded the app, you can open it and search for our event by typing in 2023 California, Nevada Annual Conference. You won't need to type in the whole name. It should pop up before then. To confirm that you have found the right event, check the dates. You should see June 15th through 18th, 2023 in Sacramento. Click the download arrow on the right of the event name. You will only need to do this once. Now you will be able to access the ACS 2023 app. Once inside the app, you'll be able to access the legislative packet, the agenda, the live stream, and more. I have the joy of sharing with you a few details regarding our upcoming annual conference session. We will be gathering Thursday, June 15th to Sunday, June 18th at the Safe Credit Union Convention Center in Sacramento. Out of an abundance of caution, the Commission on the Annual Conference has decided that for our 2023 gathering, childcare will not be provided. When you arrive to the Convention Center on Thursday, you will need to check in and get your name badge. To do so, you will need to be registered before arriving. Registration is open now through June 1st and can be found on our website, cnumc.org. We are starting on Thursday, not Friday this year, so here are a few highlights of the Thursday agenda. On Thursday, the Retired Clergy Association will be having their annual luncheon. RCA is welcoming 21 new members at annual conference this year. Thursday's clergy and laity sessions will also be taking place at the Convention Center. The Thursday evening opening worship with communion and the remembering of our saints will take place at First UMC Sacramento. For more information, please visit our website, cnumc.org, and click on Annual Conference 2023. We look forward to seeing everyone in June. Thank you for your time.